Hello and welcome to my video all about how to knit the basic braid cable. This can also be known as the Plait cable or even the 3/3/3 cable. That's because this cable consists of 3 evenly sized strands, all twisting around each other. I've previously shown you how to do the basic cable where 2 strands wrap around each other, and this is basically the 3-strand version. I've already cast on 13 stitches and done 1 repeat of the pattern. The most prominent strands are the ones coming from the bottom right and the bottom left of this sample, with the bottom left strand going over the one coming from the bottom right. The third strand is in the top right corner and you can't really see at the moment because it's quite flat. Once we've done another repeat, that third strand will be just as prominent as the other 2. The cable itself is 9 stitches wide and consists of stockinette stitch. I've also added 2 stitches either side of the cable, which will form reverse stockinette stitch edges. Okay, so let's get started. For row 1, which represents the right side of the knitting, we start with 2 purl stitches. These stitches are the beginning of the reverse stockinette stitch edges. We then do 9 knit stitches, which is the start of the stockinette cable. And then the working yarn comes forward again to do 2 purl stitches. Row 2 and every other even numbered row in this pattern will be exactly the same, and they all represent the wrong side of the knitting. What we're going to do is knit the knits and purl the purls. I have a video on this phrase if you've never heard of it, but basically you look at the stitches right next to the needle. As you will see, the first 2 and last 2 stitches have a little V shape of yarn next to the needle, whilst the central 9 stitches have a little bump of yarn next to the needle. The stitches with the bumps are purls, so we're going to purl them, and the stitches with the V shapes are knits, so we're going to knit them. Therefore, for row 2, we begin with 2 knit stitches. The yarn then comes forward for 9 purl stitches. And then the yarn goes back again for 2 knit stitches. And then we're on to row number 3, which is the first cable row. We begin with 2 purl stitches. We're then going to do a C6F cable, sometimes known as a 3/3 LC. What this means is that it's a left leaning cable that's worked over 6 stitches, where 3 stitches are passed over the other 3 stitches. So you take your cable needle and you slip 3 stitches purlwise onto it. You then leave this cable needle at the front. You then knit 3 stitches. And then knit the stitches off the cable needle. Then leave the cable needle to one side and knit 3 stitches. And finally bring the working yarn forward to do 2 purl stitches. I'm now going to put the pattern for rows 4 to 6 up on the screen so you can follow along. That's because these rows are just repeats of rows we've already done. Rows 4 and 6 are the same as row 2. And row 5 is the same as row 1. And then we're on to row number 7, which is the second cable row in this pattern repeat. We begin with 2 purl stitches. Then we do 3 knit stitches. And then it's time for a C6B cable, also known as a 3/3 RC. This is a cable that's worked over 6 stitches again, with 3 stitches being passed over the other 3. This time though, it's a right leaning or back cross cable. So you slip 3 stitches purlwise onto the cable needle and then leave the cable needle at the back of your work. You then knit 3 stitches and then knit the 3 stitches off the cable needle. And then purl 2 stitches to finish the row. And then for row 8, which is the last row in this pattern repeat, we do the same as we did for row number 2, which is knit the knits and purl the purls. So that's knit 2, purl 9, and then knit 2. And here is the finished result. And you can see that all 3 strands are now as visible and as prominent as each other. For comparison purposes, I also knit this pattern in a lighter weight yarn. At the bottom of the sample, I did the same repeat as I've just shown you how to do. And then I transitioned to a slightly different pattern for the top of this sample, where the strands just twist together in a different direction. All I did to achieve this was on the cable rows, I swapped around the cable and the knit stitches. That's all I did, and that just changes the direction of the twists. This is good if you want to do 2 braids in a project, but you don't want them to look identical. So I'm just going to put both patterns up on screen now so that you can compare and contrast. And obviously you can choose whichever pattern you want to use, or use both. I really hope this video has been helpful to you, and thank you very much for watching.